What could be the fatal blow for Europe? Brexit, populism, the migration crisis, a troubled economic situation. The EU today is in one of the most critical phases since its creation. The outcomes of elections in Austria, Italy, France and Germany also pose a risk to the EU. Who better to talk about these challenges than the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker? Thanks for being with us on the programme.
Bonjour, madame.
At the start of your mandate 2 years ago, you said my commission will be the last chance commission. Now, how do you evaluate the EU's chances of survival?
The existence of the EU is not in doubt. You said the German, French and Italian elections threatened Europe's survival. That's not accurate. The French and German elections do not threaten the future of Europe as far as their citizens are concerned. But you are right. This commission, which I have the honour of presiding over, will be the last chance commission. What I meant by that was that the European Union is entering a last chance phase, because the gulf between Europe's citizens and the public and political action of the EU is growing ever wider, and I wanted to remedy that.
Se creuse presque chaque jour davantage et j'ai voulu remédier à ça.
Exactly, and EU institutions often criticised for being out of touch with Europeans. I have a question from an online viewer. We asked our online viewers to send us questions for the interview. This one is from Moussa Bourema. What is the European Union's biggest weakness?
The lack of love. We do not know a great deal about each other. What do the people in Lapland know about Sicily? What do the Italians in the south know about the depths of Poland? Nothing. We need to take more of an interest in each other.
So, at this critical time for the EU, you're about to lose a close and powerful ally. I'm, of course, referring to the President of the European Parliament, Martin Schulz. This is a big blow for you, coming at one of the toughest times, isn't it?
No, I would not describe the departure of Martin Schulz in such lofty terms.
Schulz des propos qualitativement aussi élevés. But
it is true that I have worked well with Martin Schulz, who, by the way, was my rival for the presidency of the Commission. He was head of the Socialist List, and I was head of the Christian Democrats. We have forged strong working links with each other, and there is also a deep understanding between us. In recent history, relations between the European Parliament and the Commission have never been so warm and strong, especially since the beginning of his presidency of the European Parliament.
So you won't be left weakened by his departure?
I wouldn't go as far as that, but I will miss the understanding between us.
We have the impression that the European Union is looking more and more like a house of cards. Austria is holding a presidential election in a few days' time that could put a far-right leader in leadership for the first time since the Second World War. There is talk of plans for a referendum being held on EU membership. Things are getting very worrying, aren't they?
We can't deny or take away the people of Europe's right to express their views. Regarding referenda on EU membership, I think it's not wise to organise this kind of debate, not only because I might be concerned about the final result, but because this will pile more controversy onto the huge number already present at the heart of the EU. Besides, I don't think the next president of Austria, whoever it will be, will launch themselves into this kind of escapade.
Even if he's evoked this already?
I've learned to tell the difference between campaign promises and concrete policies. It's unthinkable that we get used to saying that campaign promises are one thing, but concrete policies are another. It's a denial of democracy. We cannot simply say whatever we like during an election campaign.
And do you think Austria could face sanctions?
We decreed sanctions against Austria in a moment of autobiographical weakness, when the far right took over some government control in Austria. This was a mistake, because voters should not be punished or sanctioned for making a bad choice. You have to discuss, debate, even fight with the political reality which could be like the one you describe.
Avec une réalité politique qui serait celle que vous décrivez, comme le président autrichien.
But the Austrian president has, above all, a mainly ceremonial role.
For now.
Rather than one of political influence. I'm not very worried, although I would not like to see the far-right candidate win.
Italy is going to the polls on the same day for a referendum. It could cost Prime Minister Matteo Renzi his job if he loses, bringing the Eurosceptics closer to power and potentially putting the euro in danger. Is this a new front opening up?
I've maintained calm relations with the Italian Prime Minister.
Calm?
Tense?
No, well, yes, on the surface tense, but we agree on the essentials when we speak face to face. The Commission has done a lot for Italy, just as Italy has done a lot for the Commission.
L'Italie fait beaucoup pour l'Union européenne. La façon dont l'Italie
Italy has dealt with the migrant crisis in an exemplary fashion. Italy is right to complain that some other European countries, not all other European countries, are not giving it enough support, as Italy is making enormous efforts with the migrant crisis and in managing its consequences. During the European election campaign and in front of the Parliament, I called on the other European member states many times to show more solidarity towards Italy and towards Greece.
But Italy is asking you to be more supportive, but also more flexible in terms of the budget. You seem to have shown more flexibility with Spain and Portugal, so why not more so with Italy?
In 2015 and 2016, Italy was able to spend more without us taking that into account under the Stability Pact, 19 billion euros more. If the Commission had not introduced elements of flexibility into the arsenal of the Stability Pact, Italy would have had to spend 19 billion euros less than it can do now. So, I do not think we will be excessively severe as far as Italy is concerned. I note that as far as the others are concerned, in Germany, Austria and in the Netherlands, I'm criticised for being too flexible with Italy. Member states should agree the same measures of judgment.
Turning now to the other elections I mentioned in the introduction of this interview. Soon, next April, it will be France's term. Another question from an online contributor now. Robert Biddle. He wants to know if Marine Le Pen is elected, will that be the final nail in the coffin for the European project?
This is a hypothesis that I do not think will come to pass.
What hypothesis?
The hypothesis that Madame Le Pen will be the future president of the French Republic. She will not be.
Is it really realistic to say that with so much certitude, particularly after Brexit?
Listen, you must not confuse people or countries. Brexit had other profound causes which the unlikely election of Madame Le Pen in France does not have. We must not confound the two. I think that's dangerous.
que je jugerais être dangereux.
Do you think if she is elected, and this must be really considered as a possibility given the latest polls, if we can rely on them these days?
That's right. Continue relying on the polls.
Well, the question is, though, can the EU survive if she becomes president?
It's a question that we should not even be asking.
In September, there will be elections in Germany. The Chancellor, Angela Merkel, could have your ally, Martin Schulz, to face.
Peut-être en face d'elle, votre allié Martin Schulz.
Who would you choose?
Every time I get involved in a national election debate or a national referendum debate, I'm told to mind my own business. Every time there's an election in a country, I'm asked, who would you choose? Clearly, I'm a Christian Democrat, and so my choice would be obvious. This is clear. And it is in no way a reflection on Mr. Schulz, whom I admire in a way that sometimes bothers other Christian Democrats.
D'une façon qui parfois gêne les autres démocrates chrétiens.
The Brexit vote was a game changer that might even bring the EU to the point of no return. I have another question from an online contributor.
D'un internaute.
British?
I don't know, his name looks more German. Nicolas Neumann?
Yes, it's German.
Nicolas Neumann.
Nicolas Neumann se demande.
Nicolas Neumann, he'd like to know if the UK should be used as an example to discourage other countries who might be thinking of leaving.
Non, enfin, je crois que la question ne se pose pas vraiment en ces termes.
It's not really a question of that. I'm not looking for revenge when it comes to the UK. The British have had their say by universal suffrage. I hope others do not do the same, but regarding the UK, we must not come at this in the spirit of revenge. We must sort out the problems this has caused for the UK and for Europeans. We will make sure relations between the British Isles and the continent remain harmonious, all the while knowing that the British cannot have the same rights and advantages as citizens of the European Union.
Les Britanniques ne peuvent pas prétendre avoir les mêmes avantages que les ont les États membres de l'Union européenne.
So, what are you prepared to give up and what is non-negotiable?
Et qu'est-ce qui est non négociable?
Tout d'abord, vous n'êtes pas la première ministre britannique et donc...
Firstly, you're not the UK Prime Minister, so I'm not going to reveal to you what I already told the British Prime Minister.
Britannique, mais il y a une ligne rouge, a red line, comme disent les Britanniques. Si le Royaume-Uni...
There is a red line, as the British say. If the UK, with its export industry and financial services, wants to fully benefit from the advantages of the single market, if they want direct access to the internal market, our British friends must respect the founding and driving principles of the internal market. It is unimaginable that there could be access to the benefits of the single market if, for example, the principle of the free movement of workers is not respected. That won't work.
Le principe de la libre circulation des travailleurs, ça n'ira pas.
In the middle of all these crises, we have the election of Donald Trump. You don't seem to know what to make of him or to like him that much.
I have trouble enough understanding my own psychological processes, so how can I begin to try and understand those of others? We'll see what happens. Relations between the US and Europe will survive.
And Donald Trump, how do you evaluate him?
I don't know him. Few Europeans have met him apart from Nigel Farage. I will see what I think when I have the opportunity to discuss the big challenges of our era with him.
Relations with Russia could be described as one such issue. President Barack Obama and some European leaders have said they want to maintain sanctions against Moscow. Will this be a short-term thing, given that Donald Trump is coming to power in a few months?
Au pouvoir dans quelques mois, cela ne devient que court terme.
We are not dependent on US foreign policy. The US will do what it wants to do, and Europeans will have their own interests within their own scope to manage.
Do you support sanctions being maintained?
Up until now, I have seen no argument for the sanctions against Russia being immediately lifted. I would like to have an agreement with Russia that goes beyond the ordinary framework, bearing in mind that without Russia, there is no security architecture in Europe. The EU occupies 5.5 million square kilometres. Russia takes up 17.5 million. Russia must be treated as one big entity, as a proud nation. We have a lot to learn about the depths of Russia. We are very ignorant about it at the moment. I would like to have discussions on a level footing with Russia. Russia is not, as President Obama said, a regional power. This was a big error in assessment.
Well, I'd like now to talk about Turkey, because Turkey is really important for you when it comes to managing the migration crisis. President Erdogan has been launching threats. Is it possible for you to continue negotiating with him? Can he still be your partner?
Turkey is not only an important partner because of the migrant crisis, it is certainly important because Turkey is hosting more than 3 million migrants and refugees on its territory, something which Europe is not doing. I would like Europe to refrain from preaching to Turkey. Turkey, like Jordan and Lebanon, is doing a lot more than Europe, so we must be humble when we are talking about it. Otherwise, Turkey is also an essential partner for the European Union and its member states because of its location. Over the last 10 years, Turkey has made a lot of progress regarding democracy. But in the last 2 years, particularly the last few months since the coup in July, Turkey is turning away from Europe more and more each day.
En juillet, se détourne de l'Europe et s'éloigne chaque jour plus de l'Europe.
And vice versa?
No. We're not driven by anti-Turkish feelings. The question that Turkey must answer is, does Turkey want to honour all the requirements needed to become a member of the European Union? I think Turkey has not yet asked itself this question and has therefore never worked out an answer.
Can you continue to negotiate with a president who's becoming increasingly authoritarian?
I have to negotiate with a lot of people, including some whose company I would really rather not keep. The EU has links with regimes, some of which are loathsome. However, no one raises the question. We talk about Turkey, and we're right to, but we never talk about Saudi Arabia. We have relations with all the dictators, as we have to co-organize the world. I have regular meetings with Turkey and its president. From time to time, they're manly and virile. I've known him for 17 to 18 years. I know him and he knows me.
There are conflicts within your own commission. And I'm talking about Commissioner Günther Oettinger, who is caught up in a scandal about a conflict of interest and accused of making racist, xenophobic and sexist comments. However, you continue to support him and have even given him a promotion. That's caused indignation, hasn't it?
Yes, but not all indignation is justified. I've not given him a promotion. I've replaced the budget commissioner, who is leaving the commission to take up a role at the World Bank, with someone who has been a member of the commission for 7 years, someone familiar with the arcane workings of the budget system, and people with the detailed knowledge of Mr. Oettinger are rare. He made a speech in Hamburg. I think in which the words used and terms employed were out of place. At my request, he apologized to all those who felt or were offended by his words. And I don't see the conflict of interest. It was clumsy, but not a mistake.
Conflit d'intérêt, je ne le vois pas. Il y a eu une maladresse, mais pas une faute.
Rules for commissioners say travel with lobbyists and gifts worth more than €150 must be declared.
It's true that gifts over a certain value must be declared, which they are. It's true that all contact with lobbyists must be made public, which the commissioners do. The fact that Mr. Oettinger, at the request of the Hungarian government, used an aeroplane that was made available by someone who, yes, is a lobbyist, in a certain way...
So you're continuing to defend him?
No, I'm continuing to say that the press should be less malicious. Mr. Oettinger responded to a parliamentary question on the 19th of May 2016 about this trip, which has caused so much interest. Why are the international press now going on about it months later? You did not see it when it happened.
Revient sur cette affaire. Vous ne l'aviez pas vu au moment des faits.
Because it took you a few months to respond.
This is grotesque, madam. Listen, you don't play the innocent journalist with me. Everything was accessible in May, and now we're coming back to this affair.
I think the issue has come up again because we're discussing his racist and xenophobic comments that have been made, and that's why we're going over the gaffes made by Mr. Oettinger.
So, you see, we are lumping everything together. We have changed the code of conduct of the Commission, which hardly anyone is talking about. I proposed this. I made sure it went through, that the cooling-off period for commissioners was extended to 2 years. As a result of the Barroso affair, I proposed a cooling-off period of 3 years for the President of the European Commission.
Will this be enough, 3 years?
3 years is 36 months.
Finally, you are 2 years into your mandate, you've 3 years left. What are you going to do differently?
We are already doing many things differently. The Commission has presented 10 priorities. We are concentrating on the big challenges of our time. We do not bother anymore with the smaller problems that are best handled at member state level or at regional level. We do not want to interfere in what would be an almost obscene way in the daily lives of European citizens.
Nous ne voulons pas interférer d'une façon presque obscène dans le quotidien des citoyens européens.
We are concentrating on the big challenges: a digital Europe, the energy union, the capital markets union, European defence, in as much as it involves the competencies of the Commission. We are holding back on the details and are ultra-present on the big challenges.
De la Commission européenne, nous sommes d'une grande retenue sur les détails et d'une ultra-présence sur les grands enjeux.
Président de la Commission européenne, Jean-Claude Juncker, merci beaucoup d'avoir été avec nous.
C'est moi qui vous remercie.